Hey guys, Ryan here with another video. I haven't been uploading recently because I've had to catch up with other stuff. However, I hope to start making more videos in the near future because I am on break right now and I've finished a lot in the past, so I am ready to start making videos again. And I recently played in the North American Open, which was in Las Vegas, and it was a 9-round tournament. And I did alright. It could have been better, but it could have been worse as well. And I wanted to share the game I played against IM Norowitz in round 4. I thought it was a very interesting game, and so I just wanted to share my analysis with you guys. So I was white and Yakov was black, and he's an IM about 24-50 feet there. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting affair. So I started with d4, and he played knight f6, and I played bishop f4. I think that the d4 bishop f4 setup's a really simple setup. It's really simple to learn as well, and yet it causes a few problems for black at times if they don't know how to play against it. But my opponent played e6 here. I just played e3 because this is the regular setup, and now he played a move which I'd never seen before, which is bishop d6. I'd encountered it a few times in some blitz games, but other than that, I didn't really think that I would see it in an actual tournament game. But he played bishop d6 against me, and I wasn't really sure what to do here. So I decided to take, which I think is the correct option, because now that he has these two doubled pawns in the center, I thought it would be a bit difficult for him to develop. And the only way to move this bishop on c8 out is to play b6, bishop b7, which I would be trying to stop. Now, in this position, I had a variety of options. I could play something like knight f3. I could play, I don't know, bishop e2 to try to stop the b6, bishop f3 idea. But in the end, I chose to play c4. Now, the point of c4 is something, if you play something like castles, I'll just play knight c3. And I basically want to play d5. So if he wants to play b6 to open up his bishop, I'll develop like knight g2, and then after bishop b7, I'll play d5. And I'll block off his bishop, and these double pawns will remain here, which are going to make it very hard for him to develop. Say he plays e5 this knight, the only place he could go is a6 followed by c5. Therefore, in this position, I'll just play a3, knight f6, or knight a6, and then b4. And the c5 square is covered, and my position's a lot better. So after c4, he was basically forced to play d5 to try to undouble his pawns. Now, I realized that he could do this and that he wouldn't have doubled pawns anymore after c takes d5, knight takes d5. However, he doesn't have doubled pawns at the cost of me having a larger center after e4 and knight f6 and knight c3. So now I have the center. He doesn't have doubled pawns anymore. It's a roughly equal position, but I definitely have a small advantage due to this pawn structure. Now he played d6 to stop me from playing e5. I played knight f3, just developing. He played castles, bishop d3, and knight c6. Now, after knight c6, he has a very clear intention. If I play something like castles, he wants to play e5. And because he got rid of this dark squared bishop at the beginning of the game, after e5, he only has a light squared bishop now, which is very good for him, because my bishop on d3 starts to look like a big pawn, while his bishop is very strong. And he has a very solid center, I think. After something like d5, he plays knight g7, or knight e7, followed by bishop g4, knight g6, rook c8. I mean, he has a very simple position here, and my bishop's terrible on d3. So I needed to do something to stop him from playing e5. So I played e5 myself. Now, This move might seem a bit like I'm overextending in the center. However, there are some very tactical explanations for e5. Now, he played d takes e5, and now I play d takes e5. So he has a variety of options here. He chose knight d5 in the game. He could play knight d7 though, which was the main other option I think for him. And in this position, I would have played castles. Now, you might be thinking, well, why am I sacrificing this pawn on e5? Well, I'm actually not really sacrificing it, because after knight takes e5, whichever knight, knight takes, then I have bishop takes h7 check, king takes h7, and then queen h5. And he has to play king g8, and now I take on e5. And I just evaluated this position as slightly more comfortable for me, because my rook's already connected and his pieces are all on the back row while mine are ready to come out. So I just thought this was a slightly better position for me. And yeah, that was the reason behind castles. Also, if he played queen c7 or something to try to gang up on that pawn, I could just play rook e1 and the same exact variation continues. So he played knight d5 here, which made sense to me in the game. Now I had a big decision here. I decided to play castles, which is basically trading my pawn structure after knight takes c3 for better development. As you can see, I've already castled, my bishop's out, my knight's out, my pawn's on e5. Meanwhile, he's castled and his knight's on c6, but every other piece is kind of clumsy here. Now he played b6 to try to open up his bishop, which makes sense. After the game, he told me that maybe knight e7 was an interesting option, so that if I tried to play something like queen e2 and queen e4, he could play knight g6, and the knight proves as a very valuable defender on g6. However, here I think that he further has problems developing his bishop, and something like h4 in the future to try to displace this knight would be an interesting try for me. So I thought during the game that b6 was going to be his best try. Now I played queen e2, developing my queen. Now notice that he doesn't have any pieces on the king side, so this is where I'm going to be attacking. My bishop's already focused on h7, and I just need to bring some of my other pieces in the game, and then I can start attacking. So he played bishop b7, protecting his knight after queen e4. However, I played rook a d1 first, just to make his queen move from d8 and develop my rook. So he played queen e7, keeping an eye on the g5 square, which is important. And I played queen e4 to attack the h7 pawn. So now he has to play g6. And I played queen f4 here. Now the reason for queen f4 is so that I can start going to h6 and also threatening possibilities of knight g5, knight e4, knight f6 check, which would be very good for me. So he played king g7 to stop me from playing h6, and so I played h4. Notice that he does not have a dark squared bishop to protect these holes around his king, so I thought that my position was more pleasant here, even though I have the worst pawn structure. So h4 is a simple plan, h5, h6, and then eventually queen f6, and try to checkmate on g7 after deflecting his queen. So he played knight a5 here in this position. I didn't think this was a very good move, but he missed one of my moves, which is why he played this. Now, after knight a5, he has a very direct threat of capturing my knight on f3, which is currently one of my best pieces. My bishop on d3 really isn't doing much, but my knight is very important because it can hop around to g5, e4, and f6. So in order to save the knight, I played knight g5, and now he played h6, attacking my knight again. Now he wanted me to play knight e4 here so that he could capture on e4 and play rook d8 or something, and suddenly all his problems are resolved because I don't have my knight anymore and his knight's going to come into the game soon. So here I actually played knight h3, which is a move he said he missed, because knight h3 actually prepares queen g3 followed by knight f4. Also, a very strong idea here is h4, h5, which is what I eventually played in the game, and I weaken his king side. So he played rook a d8 to develop one of his rooks, and I played h5. Now he needs to react to h5, because if you play something like knight c6, I can take, followed by queen g3, and if he tries to protect the pawn on g6, I can play something like knight f4. Notice that he can't take on f4 because I take on g6, and that's checkmate. And also, if he tries something like knight takes e5 here, I could have ideas such as knight h5 check, and then queen takes e5. So he had to react to me playing h5, so I played g5. However, the problem with g5 now is that when I play queen g3, I'm threatening f4, which is a very serious threat for him. His king is in the line of my queen, and so he has big problems because his pawn structure next to his king is a bit ruined. And notice that this knight on a5 is not participating in the game. I'm basically a piece up right now. So he played f5. Now if I play f4, he plays g4, and his position looks a lot better than before. However, after f5, I could take on f6 because of en passant, and then he has to take back with the rook, or because I'm playing f4 anyways, even if he takes with the queen. Now, after f4, my bishop's very strong, my queen's very strong, my knight's helping out with the attack. He's basically almost lost in this position, I think. So he tried to get some counterplay. He played queen c7. Now, notice that I cannot take on g5 right now because he's pinning my queen and he'll take on g3. So therefore, I just moved my queen up to g4. And now he was trying to find counterplay, so he took on c3. Now, I don't know if he has a lot better to do, but this variation is also a lot worse for him. Because after f takes g5, rook takes f1, rook takes f1, because I don't want to take with the bishop or else he trades rooks, which is fine for him. So rook takes f1 and queen d4 check. He has to trade queens right now because if he takes with if he takes the bishop in any way, I can simply take on h6 with the double check, and then after king takes h6, queen g6 is checkmate. So he's forced to trade queens here with queen d4 check. However, this still leads to a winning position for me because I can take and then play bishop g6, which is a very strong move and crucial move, I think. If I don't have bishop g6, the position might be equal. However, after this move, he has to play rook d7, or else my rook is going to come to f7, and I'm going to checkmate him soon. So he played rook d7, and now the good thing about having double g pawns is that if I lose one pawn, I have another one. And so I took on h6 and played g4, and now I'm threatening g5, and the position is a lot better for me. Knight c4, he finally tries to bring the knight that was on a5 into the game, but right now it's just too late. Because after g5 check, king g7, knight f4, not only am I attacking this pawn on e6, which he has to defend, but I'm also protecting my bishop so I can play h6 check. Now his king is forced to the back rank, and then I play knight h5 to play knight f6, and he resigned in this position because no matter what he does, if he plays something like king h8, rook f8 is checkmate, and if he tries to play anything else, like if he tries to move his rook to e7 to get out of the fork, I can play knight f6 check, and then I'll just take on d5, take the bishop, so once he takes back, I have checkmate this way. And lastly, if he plays rook d8 to try to protect the back rank from checkmate, I can simply play rook f7 because his rook's left the 7th rank, and whatever he does, any move, I just play knight f6 check and then rook h7 mate. So for these reasons, my opponent did resign after knight h5, and yeah, this was the game. And I thought it was a very interesting game because I had to make a lot of decisions in the middle game, but ultimately it panned out to me winning. So thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I'll be posting more in the near future.